The Watcher in the Woods, four friends, Alex, Jamie, Sarah, and Mike, decided to go camping in the heart of Maplewood Forest, a sprawling wilderness known for its dense trees and isolated beauty. They were experienced campers and had no qualms about spending a few nights far from civilization. After setting up their tents and starting a fire, they shared stories and laughed, the flickering flames casting dancing shadows around their campsite. As the night grew darker, the forest seemed to come alive with sounds. Rustling leaves, distant animal calls, and the occasional snap of a twig kept them on edge. Jamie, always the joker, suggested they play a game of who can scare who the most. It started lightheartedly, with tales of ghosts and monsters, but as the night wore on, the atmosphere turned unsettling. Alex, on a dare, ventured into the woods alone, armed with only a flashlight. The others watched the beam of light bob and weave through the trees until it disappeared. Minutes passed, turning into an hour. Alex didn't return. Worried, the remaining three called out his name, their voices echoing through the silent forest. Suddenly, the flashlight beam appeared again, but it was moving erratically, as if someone was running. Alex stumbled back into the camp, pale and shaking. He didn't say a word, just collapsed by the fire, eyes wide with terror. "What happened?" Sarah demanded, but Alex could only mumble about seeing something watching him. They decided to stick together and keep the fire burning bright. The next morning, they found Alex's flashlight at the edge of their campsite, its bulb shattered. Nearby, in the dirt, were large footprints. Too large to be human. They packed up hurriedly, vowing never to speak of what Alex saw again.
The haunted cabin Emily and her boyfriend Jack planned a romantic getaway in the woods. They chose a secluded camping spot by a lake, a perfect place for fishing, swimming, and relaxing. As they set up their tent and built a fire, they noticed a rundown cabin a short distance away. Curious, they decided to explore it the next day. The cabin was in ruins with broken windows and rotting wood. Inside, it was filled with old furniture, dusty and covered in cobwebs. They found a diary on a table, its pages yellowed with age. The entries detailed the life of a man who had lived there alone for years, slowly descending into madness. The last entry mentioned something about the voices in the woods, and ended abruptly. That night, Emily and Jack were awakened by strange noises, whispers carried on the wind, and the sound of footsteps circling their tent. Jack grabbed a flashlight and unzipped the tent, but saw nothing. They tried to go back to sleep, but the noises continued, growing louder and more insistent. In the early hours of the morning, they decided to leave. As they were packing up, Emily glanced towards the cabin and saw a figure standing in the doorway, a gaunt man with hollow eyes staring at them. She screamed and Jack turned, but the figure was gone. They left in a hurry, not stopping until they were miles away. When they told their story to the locals, they learned the cabin was believed to be haunted by the ghost of its last inhabitant, who went insane from the isolation and eventually disappeared into the woods, never to be seen again.
The Singing Tree. In a small, remote town, there was a legend about a tree that sang in the woods. The story went that a young girl had gone missing decades ago, and her spirit now resided in the tree, calling out to those who passed by. Curious and skeptical, a group of teenagers, Lisa, Tom, Rachel, and Ben, decided to camp near the infamous tree to see if the legend was true. They found the tree easily enough. It was an old, gnarled oak that stood apart from the others, its branches twisted and bare despite the season. They set up their camp nearby and settled in for the night. As darkness fell, they joked about the legend, daring each other to approach the tree. Around midnight, they heard it, a soft, mournful singing, barely audible over the crackling of their campfire. It was a child's voice, ethereal and haunting. Lisa, braver than the rest, walked closer to the tree, trying to see if there was a hidden speaker or some other trick. As she touched the trunk, the singing stopped abruptly. The air grew cold, and a feeling of dread washed over the group. Lisa stumbled back, her face pale. "It's her," she whispered. "She's here." The others laughed nervously, but their laughter died when they saw tears streaming down Lisa's face. Suddenly, the ground around the tree began to shake, and whispers filled the air, mingling with the faint, sorrowful song. The tree's branches moved as if reaching out for them. Panicking, they grabbed their gear and ran, not stopping until they were far from the tree. When they reached the safety of their homes, they swore never to return. But the legend of the singing tree grew stronger as locals reported hearing the child's song echoing through the woods, a reminder of a lost soul still searching for peace.